Now, on to the last segment of the show, Week 2 fantasy starts and sits. Now, I'll go first. For my starts, I had Trey Lance against Seattle, but you told me it's raining.
80% chance.
Yeah, because of that, I'm going to quickly change my pick, and I'm going to go Kirk Cousins versus the Eagles.
Like that.
I got Captain Kirk. I think he's going to have a big-time day. I know Kirk Cousins gets a lot of shit for not performing in prime time, but I think that reputation ends this year. He's the captain. He's going to lead the ship.
I'm excited for that game.
Running back, Darrell Henderson versus the Atlanta Falcons.
I like that.
He's clearly the RB1 with the Rams. I think he's going to have a big-time day. The Rams want to have a revenge game. And wide receiver, Jahan Dotson versus Detroit Lions. 3 touchdowns last week. That means Carson Wentz has to trust him. It was either Curtis Samuel or Jahan Dotson for me. I'm going with Jahan Dotson. And my sits, Tom Brady versus the Saints. No tight end. No, I didn't have tight end. I just really don't care about tight end anymore. Quarterback sits, Tom Brady versus the Saints. Historically, he struggles against New Orleans. That's why I have him sitting. Cordell Patterson against the Rams. I feel like he had a big-time day week 1. If you're in a thin league, you're probably still going to start Cordell Patterson, but he's somebody that I wouldn't expect to have a big-time day versus the Rams. And Amari Cooper, again, versus the Jets. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed are going to be on him. He's going to get locked up. I think Amari Cooper, you got to sit him again.
I don't have any QBs. I have just wide receivers and tight ends.
That's fine, man.
I love it.
No running backs?
Nah, I don't do running backs. I'm a fun guy. I like to do interesting. You know what I'm saying? I did have Amari Cooper, though. He took him. So, for me, start every wide receiver on the Bengals. They play Dallas this week. It's going to be nasty. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, they said he might play, so it's going to be fun. But start all 3 of them. If you can, if you have all 3, especially T. Higgins, I think if he does play, this is going to be a big game for him. Start A-Rob this week. I think this week is the bounce back week. I think this is the week where Matthew Stafford gets it going, finds his other guys. I don't know who that guy that was playing and getting more touches than him against the Bills. I don't know his name. I don't want to respect it.
Would you say Devin Singletary? I'm sorry, I missed your first part. Who are you looking for?
The guy who was getting more targets than A-Rob against the Bills. Last name.
Skoranek?
Yeah, I don't want to disrespect him, but A-Rob needs to get those touches.
McVay has said multiple times that he needs to get more looks.
Yeah, and this was going to be the week, especially against this type of opponent. Sit, he took one of mine. He had Coop. I had 2 more. Sit, Darnell Mooney, yet again. He's going up against Jair Alexander. They were talking shit to each other this week, so I think it's going to be a fun matchup. Jair Alexander is going to match up with him a few times. That's going to be a good one. And sit Mark Andrews, I think, against the Dolphins.
Really?
I think this is going to be a tough-ass matchup. The Dolphins' defense can play a lot better. I know it looked like they played, but they could play a lot better than what they played last week, and I think this is going to be the defense. This is going to be a defensive game for both teams, Ravens and Dolphins, both elite potential defensive groups, and I think it's going to be fun. So those would be my sits.
We are going to be giving away NBA 2K23 Legendary Editions to a couple of you guys, and all you have to do is sign up for Boom Fantasy, deposit $10, which is you're putting in $10 to get a $150 game. On top of that, you play Boom, you can double your money with your deposit. Triple. So you can make money
40 times with long shots.
Yeah. So if you want to join in the giveaway, then sign up for Boom. The link is in our bio.
But ensure that you guys make that $10 deposit. That's the only way that you gain entrance into this raffle.
And based on who wins, you guys tell us what version you want, the Legendary one, Dreamers Edition, which console, or you want it for PC. You know, it's up to you. But I think that's a great deal.
Maybe we'll go on live on TikTok for the first time.
And NBA 2K23, I heard it's great. I heard it's looking great.
Riv, confirm, deny?
Fire.
That's tough.
Just make sure you use our link, because if you don't use our link, we don't know that's where you're coming from. We don't know you're coming from. Pick a side.
Link in the description.
Link description or the bio.
All right, so my starts this week. Last week, I had Carson Wentz as one of my starts of the week.
That was a good start.
And once again, I'm making Carson Wentz my start of the week.
What could possibly go wrong?
Against the Lions, where we saw last week Jalen Hurts just able to do whatever he wanted on the ground, through the air. He was electric. I'm expecting Carson Wentz to follow suit. His weapons are really good, and he's utilizing every single one of them. Like Joel mentioned, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, a little bit of Logan Thomas, a little bit of Antonio Gibson. Carson Wentz is going to see them all, and I think he's going to thrive once again. My running back, Flashy name, of course. This is an obvious one, but I want to double down, make sure that we understand that he is my start of the week. Could potentially be top 2, top 3 RB this week. Javonte Williams against the Texans. We saw him have a plethora of work through the air, saw 12 targets. Didn't see that much work on the ground. I believe he only saw 7 carries. But against the Texans, where obviously it's Jonathan Taylor, arguably the best back in football, he had over 100, had a touchdown on them. He dominated. And I'm expecting the Broncos to have their way, whether it's Javonte through the air or on the ground. I think Javonte is going to have an absolute feasting.
Javonte is second in receptions in the league right now. Second most receptions.
He has 9 or 11. That's what it was.
Didn't Adams have 12?
Stephon Diggs, I think.
Was Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams is number 2.
As the second most receptions.
Let me double check, but I feel like you capping on phone.
No, it's
he's got 11. He got 11 catches on Monday.
So my wide receiver start of the week is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown versus the Commanders.
No, he's not second. He's 4th. But there's 3 guys in front of him tied for first. So it's Eckler, Kupp, Kelsey.
That's who it was. Oh, and no, Eckler doesn't count. He just
because they play.
It's just Kupp. It's just Kupp, and then
I got you.
AJ Brown was at 10.
He saw hella targets against Seattle. So my wide receiver start of the week is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown versus the Commanders. Christian Kirk absolutely went berserk on them. Amon-Ra St. Brown, is better than Christian Kirk. It's not even a question to me. I think that Amon-Ra continues that trend of eating against the Commanders. My tight end start of the week is going to be Pat Freiermuth. Now, last week, ironically, I made him my sit. Now, this week, I clearly evaluated that Mitch Trubisky, when he's pressured, one of his first reads is seeing Pat Freiermuth. I think that the Pats are going to focus on Deontay. They're going to focus on Najee Harris, and it's going to allow Pat to be open in space. And Mitch Trubisky clearly favors Pat Freiermuth, so I'm expecting him to play well. My sits. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill versus the Bills. The Bills made Matthew Stafford and the rest of that offense look basically irrelevant. I'm expecting Ryan Tannehill to, where he showed some flashes against the Giants with limited weapons. I think that definitely does not happen versus the Bills. My running back sit is going to be Breece Hall versus the Browns. The Browns really halted Christian McCaffrey. He only had 10 touches on the ground, but only for 33 yards. Really wasn't that efficient on the ground. He had one play that Baker fumbled the snap. He picked it up and ran it, but they counted it as a fumble, so it didn't accumulate as yards. But really, CMC struggled to get it going, both in the pass game and the rush game. And Breece Hall, where he definitely thrived in the pass game last week, I don't know if I can trust him this week against the Browns. Overall, I just think it's going to be an ugly game. My wide receiver sit was Amari Cooper. I'm also going to have DK Metcalf as one of my sits. Facing the Niners, I'm expecting them to get a ton of pressure on that offensive line. We saw the Broncos thrive, and the Niners the Niners defensive line is better than ours, and their secondary with Trevarius Ward on DK Metcalf, I think is going to be a long day for DK. And my tight end sit is going to be Dalton Schultz with Cooper Rush as the quarterback facing the Bengals. It's mostly that Cooper Rush is their quarterback, truthfully. I just don't love this offense without Dak Prescott. And Dalton Schultz, who is a guy that I'm extremely high on, I think that his opportunities are just so much more elevated now that Amari Cooper isn't there. But without Dak, it's a guy that I want to fade.
Moving on to my starts at quarterback, Matt Stafford against the Falcons. They're due for a bounce-back game. We saw last week Jameis 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think this is the game they get back on track. McVay has said multiple times they need to get Allen Robinson more involved, and overall I expect the offense to be better. My running back start, bit of a caveat. If Leonard Fournette is out, start Rachaad White. We saw him in week 1 get all of the carries once Fournette went out. So if Fournette goes down and he's not being able to play on Sunday, you could start Rachaad White as a top 15 running back. He's going to get the looks in the passing game. He's going to get all the carries as well. My wide receiver starts going to be both Denver wide receivers. I think we saw Jeudy and Sutton both do some good things. Jeudy was the one who had the big play, but they both got 7 targets. They're both going to get a ton of looks for the rest of the season. And we saw, I know, like I said, Jeudy had the big play, but Sutton had multiple targets down the field in the end zone. Made my heart drop because I was going against Sutton. I was only up like 8 points. I was stressing out, but start both Denver wide receivers. My tight end is going to be Tyler Higby. If you have a nice little, stack with Higby and Matt Stafford, he had 11 targets against the Bills. I do think A-Rob gets more involved, but against Atlanta, I'm still expecting him to get the second or third most targets on this team. Then moving on to my sits. Not going to happen often, but I'm sitting Tom Brady this week. In half of the games, he hasn't thrown a touchdown against the Saints. In 3 out of the 4 games, Brady has thrown for less than 240 yards. Now, you might not have a better option on your bench, but if you're debating between 2 guys, I would caution starting Brady this week against New Orleans. My running back sit is going to be David Montgomery. I know they got the win against the Niners. He had 17 carries, but only went for 26 yards. I know the weather wasn't great, but before Elijah Mitchell went down, he looked pretty good rushing the ball. What was that?
Being dumb.
Okay.
My bad.
And now they have the Packers coming up. I think this is a game they'll be trailing a lot, so you might see a little bit more Khalil Herbert. Moving on to wide receiver sit, it's going to be Brandon Ayuk. Another game it's supposed to rain. You're going to start Debo, of course, because he's going to get involved in the rushing game. But right now, I need to see this offense. What is it going to look like, right? Is Brandon Ayuk going to be a startable player? Is he going to be somebody you could even start in your flex? So right now, it's a wait and see. And then lastly is going to be Hunter Henry. He's someone you need a touchdown. That's the only way Hunter Henry is going to be reliable for you. And against Pittsburgh, I'm expecting a low-scoring game. I don't think either offense can get much going.
Offenses.
So I see Hunter Henry going for like 3 catches for 27 yards. So those are my sets.